drug or intoxicating or psychoactive substances. In this session, we would try to understand what does it mean, what are the effects of such substances, and how do they impact the human body. But before we begin, the first thing that we need to understand is what do we mean when we say a drug. So, any chemical which when ingested by an individual enters the human body, goes to the brain and produces effect on the brain and has the ability to change certain specific functions of the brain will be perceived by that individual as a drug. What are those specific functions of the brain which when affected by these chemicals make the experience of ingesting that substance a drug like effect? These functions are consciousness, that is our ability to be alert or to go to sleep or wake up from sleep. Perception, which is the function of our sensory organs, sight, smell, hearing, touch, these are the various sensory organs. Any substance, any chemical which when ingested can alter the functions of these sensory organs will also be perceived as intoxicating or like a drug. Another function of the brain is mood, our emotional state, how we feel at that given point in time. So, any substance which when it goes to the brain affects our mood, that also is perceived as an intoxicating substance. Another function is our thinking process. Here we do not mean how a person thinks, but rather what is the process of thinking. In a normal thinking process, an individual has one thought, then the next thought is logically linked with the previous thought, and so on and so forth, the chain of thinking process continues. There are some substances which can affect this sequential process of thinking, and they also are perceived as intoxicating. And the last function is behavior or motor function. Our behavior as an individual is controlled by our brain. So, any chemical which can affect the control of brain on our behavior or motor function is also perceived to be intoxicating. Now, this does not mean that these substances are specifically meant to produce these behaviors. Somebody may consume such a chemical for some other purpose, and because this chemical also has effect on one of these brain functions, such a chemical would also be perceived as a drug or an intoxicating substance. A good example is some of the medicines. We know that there are some medicines like sleeping pills which are used for genuine medical purposes, but there are people who also use them for recreational purposes. Why? Because the same effect which is used medicinally to induce sleep or to reduce anxiety can also be perceived as pleasurable or intoxicating by another individual who takes it for that purpose. How? Because it affects our consciousness. Similarly, there are other medicines like painkillers. They can also be utilized as drugs because they have effects on one of these brain functions. Similarly, what should also be understood is that each intoxicating substance or drug does not necessarily produce a specific function of the brain, one of these five, in order to produce its intoxicating effect. Some substances may have impact on more than one brain function. For example, alcohol. Alcohol produces sedation or sleep, which means it affects our alertness or consciousness. At the same time, we all have seen people behaving aggressively under influence of alcohol. Why? Because it also affects our psychomotor behavior. Now, a number of different terms are used when it comes to drugs. We have heard terms like narcotic, psychotropic substances, pharmaceutical drugs, addictive drugs, recreational drugs. They all carry some meaning. Actually, narcotic and psychotropic substances is a term which is used in legal parlance. Addictive drug would mean any substance which has the propensity to develop addiction. A pharmaceutical drug is a drug which also has some medicinal indication. And recreational drug is any drug, any substance which is primarily used for recreational purposes. So, how do we then refer to these intoxicating substances in a correct scientific manner? Well, the correct scientific term for these substances is psychoactive substances. It specifically refers to these chemicals which produce these changes in the brain, which affect one of the 5 functions I just discussed and produce an intoxicating effect. Now, there are thousands of such psychoactive substances or drugs. What is common to all of them is that they affect one or the other 5 functions of the brain and produce intoxication. What is also common to all of them is they can all be used for recreational purposes. But what is most important and a common thread across all these psychoactive substances is their ability or propensity to cause addiction. We understand that any substance which can be used for recreational purposes can also eventually lead to development of addiction. But why is it so? Why do drugs cause addiction? And this actually comes from their specific neurobiological effects in a human brain. Our brain has certain specific areas which are linked with reward or a feeling of satisfaction, a feeling of achievement. These areas, which are also known as reward pathways, they are part of each and everyone's brain. Drugs, they artificially stimulate the functioning of this area. Now, whenever this area is excited or stimulated, it produces a sense of achievement and it also generates a desire to engage in that behavior again. This is known as reinforcement. All drugs, all psychoactive substances, they have the ability to artificially stimulate or excite this reward pathway, this area of the brain, and as a result of which the individual feels like taking that substance again. So, all drugs, when they are taken by a human being, it is their natural tendency to increase the likelihood of them being taken again. This is the very nature of this chemical which makes anyone feel like taking that substance again. Now, but why is this area available in our brain? There must be some physiological, some regular routine reason for having this reward pathway in our brains. It was not meant to just respond to these chemicals so that we can become addicted to them. No, there is a routine, regular, physiological, normal function of this area of the brain. What happens is, whenever we are engaged in any behavior for which we have to work hard, for which we have to persist, for which we have to overcome obstacles, for which we have to make an effort, eventually when we reach the end point or when we finally achieve after making that effort, this reward pathway gets stimulated. It gives us a sense of satisfaction and happiness, and we feel like doing the same thing again. So, reward pathway increases or reinforces the likelihood of us engaging in useful behaviors where we have to work hard, like achieving good marks in the exam or clearing a competitive exam, or in mountaineering or in adventure sports, trying to learn something new. These are various activities in which reward pathway gets stimulated after we have succeeded in what we were trying to do, and it reinforces our desire to engage in that behavior or similar behaviors again. However, what these chemicals, psychoactive substances do, they stimulate this pathway artificially. So, without having to do any hard work, without having to overcome any obstacles, without having to put in the time and effort in any behavior on a sustained basis, the individual ends up experiencing a similar kind of satisfaction, a similar kind of sense of achievement which he or she otherwise would get from a different kind of behavior in an instant. And because substances do this in such a short span of time without any effort, over a period of time when an individual is using any psychoactive substance again and again, they tend to start taking priority over other behaviors. So, an individual who has been using a psychoactive substance over a period of time repeatedly, they tend to start ignoring other recreational activities, other hobbies, other responsibilities, because they get into a habit of extracting pleasure without making much effort, and that is why drugs are addictive. But that does not mean that all drugs or all psychoactive substances are equally addictive. There is a difference in to what extent a given psychoactive substance actually is likely to produce addiction in an individual, and that is where we need to understand what is the difference between various psychoactive substances and what type of psychoactive substances there are. What exactly is addiction? We often have heard this term, drug addiction. We have also heard this term in other contexts like addiction to this, addiction to that. But what does this term actually means? But before we actually understand the term addiction and its implications, let us first try to understand why people actually take drugs. Now, broadly we can say people take drugs for two reasons. Either it may be to feel good, which means they want to experience something new, they want to experience a pleasant sensation, and for which they may try various things, and one of them may be one of the addictive or psychoactive substances. The other reason could be that people consume drugs to feel better. So, for some individuals there may be a pre-existing condition, whether it is anxiety, whether it is lack of confidence, whether it is depression or sleep disturbances, because of which they may use one of these substances to self treat these pre-existing conditions. So, these individuals are taking drugs to actually feel better. The exact reason for starting drug use of course will vary from one individual to another. But what are the common factors, common reasons behind initiation of substance use? Now, the most prominent reason is peer pressure or peer influence. Having someone in your friend circle, in your surrounding who consumes a substance increases the likelihood of experimenting with that substance manifold. People also sometimes try to fit in or to become part of the social circle. They may experiment with a drug. This may happen in office parties, this may happen even in school. Also, if you see, initiation of use of most of the substances occurs in a particular age group. It is very rare for anyone to start using a new substance in 30s or 40s. By that time, individuals' habits, individuals' behavior, individuals' social circle is already well set. So, the likelihood of getting introduced to a new substance is fairly low. But it is between the age of 15 to 25 years that most of the substances are initiated. And what is happening at that time? At that time, the curiosity or the risk taking ability is also the highest. So, age is also one of the important factors behind experimentation with a drug. Then there can be some social factors like loneliness, not having a friend circle, or having difficult circumstances in the life, stress due to variety of reasons. It may be of studies or exams at school, it may be pressure at workplace. There may be pre-existing conditions like I said earlier, whether it is sleep disturbances or depression or anxiety. Some individuals also may have some personality traits which make them more likely to experiment with substances. For example, people who have poor coping skills or who have low frustration tolerance, they are more likely than people who do not have these traits. They are more likely to use or try substances. Now, in any given individual who makes a decision to experiment with a drug, one or more of these reasons may be applicable. What makes experimentation more likely is some other factors like easy availability of drugs, affordability, having people in the environment who use drugs. socio-cultural norms associated with the use of a drug, or the kind of family environment or support which is available to the individual. It has been seen that families which have conflict, or single parent families, or where parental supervision is inadequate, their children are more likely to get into drug use. In areas where drugs are easily available, more people will end up trying a drug. But the single most important factor, like I said earlier, is having someone in your immediate environment who uses a drug. It is typically seen that nobody starts experimenting with a drug alone. Usually it happens in company of friends or family or other people who are known to the individual. And also it is seen that one or more of those individuals, those other individuals, are already experienced in using that drug. So that obviously becomes the single most important factor behind initiation of drug use. Whatever may be the reason or facilitating factor for the initial experimentation, once somebody has tried a drug or any psychoactive substance, whether it is alcohol or some of the illicit drugs, further progression depends upon some other factors. Any individual does not straight away become addicted or dependent to a drug from the initial stage of experimentation. The use of the drug goes through various levels of usage. There are various stages of usage through which any individual goes before that individual finally reaches the stage of addiction or dependence. Now, from initial experimentation, usually people go into the next stage, which is occasional or irregular use. In this stage, there is no fixed pattern of consumption of the drug. People take it once in a while, they may take it continuously for some time and then not take it for a long period of time. The amount of consumption is not really fixed, that this much is essentially required to be consumed on every occasion. Beyond that, people go into a stage of regular use, where a set pattern of intake of the drug is established. It may be using alcohol on every weekends, for example, or taking it daily in the evening or in a small amount. So, from occasional use, the individual goes to the next stage, which is regular use. After regular use, usually the individual goes to daily usage, and it is after some time of daily intake of the drug that finally the stage of addiction or dependence sets in. So, one of the important things to understand about addiction is that it takes a fairly long time for addiction to develop from the initiation of drug use. Second thing which one needs to understand is that not everyone goes through these steps necessarily. For any drug, any psychoactive substance, there may be some people who experiment and then just stop the use of that drug there itself, and they do not move to the next stage. But some will go to the next stage of occasional or irregular use. How does that get decided? Now, that depends upon primarily two factors. One is what were the initial experiences with the drug like, and second, whether there is a peer group. If there is a peer group which is using the drug frequently, then the individual is more likely to continue experimenting with the drug and reach this stage of occasional use. If the initial experiences were good, then the individual is likely to move further and use the drug again. However, if the initial experiences with the use of the drug were not good, then the individual may not use the drug again or after a few initial occasions. Similarly, from occasional to regular use, it will depend upon the peer group. It will also depend upon what are the psychosocial circumstances around the individual. If the individual has any pre-existing condition, if he is going through stress, then the likelihood of moving further and increase in the frequency and amount of the drug is higher. From regular use to the stage of addiction, it also depends upon what is the kind of peer group, what are the other psychosocial factors which are at play. But the single most important factor which is responsible for movement of an individual from experimentation to the stage of addiction is the nature of the drug itself. There are so many hundreds and thousands of drugs, but there are some drugs which have far higher propensity to cause addiction as compared to others. As I said earlier, all drugs irrespective of their type and their source, they have a tendency to stimulate the reward pathway in the brain, which leads to reinforcement of drug taking behavior. Which means if an individual takes a drug once, the likelihood of taking the drug again increases. All drugs have this property of reinforcement, but the property is not at the same level. For some drugs, the property is present, but it is weak. But in case of other drugs, this property, this tendency is very high. So, for a drug which has weak property of reinforcement, the likelihood of movement across these stages is lesser. But for another drug which has a very strong property of reinforcement, the progression, the likelihood of progression is much higher. So, depending upon the nature of the drug and its reinforcing property, the likelihood of progression from experimentation to dependence is decided, and what is also decided is how much time it takes to reach from experimentation to addiction. Even for a given drug, for example alcohol, not everyone becomes addicted to it. The property of alcohol is same for every individual. It has weak reinforcement, but it does have reinforcement, which means it can produce addiction in any individual. But still, some people develop addiction to alcohol and some people do not. They continue to drink in a controlled manner on social occasions. Why does that happen? So, what we have to understand is addiction is a complex brain illness. It is not a simple phenomenon. There are a number of factors at play in development of addiction. When somebody uses this substance, any psychoactive substance, each of those individuals is vulnerable to development of addiction, but some individuals are more vulnerable to development of addiction. So, for the same substance, you may find that some people go on to develop addiction while others do not. And what are those vulnerabilities? These vulnerabilities may be genetic and they may be environmental. So, genetic vulnerabilities may include some of the personality traits like poor frustration tolerance, poor coping skills, high sensation seeking. Some of those personality traits, they play a role in genetic vulnerability to addiction. Similarly, having family history of addiction to one of the substances, especially among parents. So, such individuals are already vulnerable to development of addiction to that substance. As far as the environmental factors is concerned, the socio-cultural norms regarding use of a substance, peer group, availability, some of those factors which I talked about earlier, they also come into play. So, addiction develops in an individual when both genetic as well as environmental factors, they come together and create the right recipe or the right environment for addiction to develop. It is the interplay between these two genetic and environmental factors which is responsible for development of addiction in any individual. Now, when we talk about problems associated with drugs including addiction, we hear a number of terms. People use the term abuse or misuse. How do we know what is the correct term to use when we want to refer to addiction? Use of any substance is not really a medical or a diagnostic entity. It is not really a disorder. Use simply means having consumed a substance. There are some individuals who use the substance, but their consumption or usage of that substance is now occurring in a pattern which is harmful to them. The harms may be psychological or physical. However, even at that stage, these individuals have not yet reached the stage of addiction. So, for such individuals who are somewhere in between the stages of use and addiction, but are experiencing harmful effects of use of the substance, WHO uses the term harmful pattern of use. So, we discussed use, which is consuming substance without any adverse consequences, and harmful pattern of use, which is consuming a substance in a pattern which is causing physical or psychological harm, but has still not reached the stage of addiction. So, then finally, how do we recognize addiction? Now, WHO describes addiction as a cluster of physical, psychological and behavioral symptoms which develop after prolonged and repeated use of a substance. So, here there are two things which are extremely important. One, addiction is not merely one or two symptoms. You cannot identify addiction based on just one or two features. When somebody develops addiction, we see the effects of that kind of drug use in the physical or bodily domain, in the psychological domain, as well as in the individual's behavior. So, a reflection of addiction is seen in all aspects of a person's existence. And the second thing which is important in this definition is prolonged and repeated. So, addiction as a phenomenon is not something which can develop overnight. Now, how can we identify whether someone who is using a substance for a reasonable time period and is using it continuously or repeatedly, whether that individual has actually developed addiction to that substance? So, there are 6 core features which can help us identify addiction in an individual. The first core feature is craving. Craving for the substance in a person who is addicted to that drug is a strong desire or a sense of compulsion to take that drug again. So, here what is important to understand is when somebody is addicted to a drug, the desire to take that drug is so strong that the person feels compelled to take that drug. They feel as if they have no choice but to take that drug. Another feature of addiction is prioritization. Once somebody develops addiction to a drug, that individual then starts prioritizing use of that drug over all other behaviors. And these other behaviors include other responsibilities like familial responsibilities or work related responsibilities, and also other pleasurable behaviors. Some physical features of addiction are development of tolerance. Development of tolerance to the effect of the drug which this individual has been consuming for a long period of time. So, what happens is over a period of time, the person's body and the brain, they start becoming used to the effect of the drug. So, initially the individual may require a very small amount of the drug for the intoxicating effect to come, but later on, after use of that drug repeatedly, the amount of drug which is required to produce the same kind of intoxicating effect is now much larger. Another physical feature of dependence is withdrawals. Now, withdrawals is a collection or a group of some signs and symptoms which develop if an individual who is addicted to a drug stops use of that drug all of a sudden. Another feature which is largely behavioral is loss of control. When somebody is consuming a substance repeatedly over a long period of time, initially it is the individual who decides when and how much and in what setting the drug will be consumed. But once addiction develops, the person starts losing control over these decisions. So, now at this stage, it is not the individual who decides when he or she will start consuming the drug, in what quantity, over what period of time, in what setting, in what company. Gradually, the individual starts losing control over these behaviors and it starts becoming automatic. Another behavioral feature of addiction is that the individual realizes that use of the drug in the way he or she is consuming it is actually producing harmful effects, whether psychological or physical. But despite developing that understanding, they are unable to change their drug using behavior. So, they continue to use the substance despite experiencing harmful effects by the substance. So, these are the 6 core features of addiction with the help of which we can identify whether somebody who is using a drug is addicted to that drug or not. Now, it is not necessary for all 6 of these features to be present in the individual to identify addiction. presence of 3 or more of these 6 core features in an individual associated with the use of a drug is sufficient to identify that individual as having been addicted to that drug. Now, we talked about use, harmful use, and then addiction or dependence. Addiction was the term which was used earlier. Now, scientifically we use the term dependence, which essentially means the same thing. So, we talked about use, then harmful use and dependence. Now, typically in any given individual for any substance, the progression is along these lines. It starts with use. If it increases over a period of time in terms of frequency and amount, the individual starts experiencing harmful effects of the drug and reaches the stage of harmful use, and subsequently the individual starts developing dependence or addiction to that drug. Once the stage of addiction sets in, the individual then becomes stuck in a vicious cycle. What happens is that the individual uses the drug, which then produces that intense pleasurable effect or euphoria. Once the euphoria starts subsiding, the individual starts experiencing craving for the drug and withdrawal symptoms. And because of this intense craving to use the drug and the discomfort associated with the withdrawals, the person then again starts searching for the drug. And once the individual is able to procure the drug, they consume it and the cycle repeats itself. And from this cycle, people who have become addicted to a drug find themselves incapable of coming out on their own. That is why once the stage of addiction for any substance sets in, it is almost essential to provide correct treatment to actually help the individual come out of this cycle. Addiction is something which has been known to mankind for a very long period of time. However, earlier it used to be considered either a moral problem, it used to be thought of as a character flaw in that individual, or a social problem, that it is actually a societal problem due to availability of drugs or due to inadequate parenting, or it used to be considered only a law and order problem, that because the drugs are available, people are using them, and because they are using them, they are going on to develop addiction. However, the modern understanding and the scientific understanding of addiction is that it is a medical illness. It is a medical illness like many other chronic illnesses. It is a disorder of the brain which occurs after prolonged use of a substance due to the effects of those chemicals on the brain. We discussed earlier how drugs, they go to the brain and influence brain functions. They also go to certain specific areas and reinforce their own use. And due to these effects on the brain, over a period of time it has been seen that people who use drugs, their brain function as well as the structure gets altered, and then it leads to a brain disorder, which is what drug addiction is. So, now drug addiction is seen as a chronic relapsing disorder like many other chronic conditions such as diabetes or hypertension or hypothyroidism. And like in case of those chronic disorders, the correct approach to addiction is to understand the patient's problems and to provide right evidence based treatment to help the individual. Now, in any community, not everyone who uses a substance becomes addicted to it or dependent on it. So, what we typically find for any drug is that out of the entire community, there are many individuals who have never even experimented with that drug. Then there is a smaller subset of individuals who have experimented with that drug, but did not continue it further. Then there is a further smaller subset which are continuing to use the drug and are experiencing harmful effects due to the use of that drug, but are not yet dependent on it. They are the harmful users. And then there is a very small subset of users who are still taking it and who have already developed addiction to the drug. So, for any substance, any drug in a community, what you will find is that there are abstainers who have never used that drug, there are people who have used that drug in their lifetime, but are not currently using it, and then there are people who are using it currently, but some of them are harmful users and a smaller group is dependent users.